What's a quote that permanently changed the way you look at things? Let go or be dragged, an old Zen proverb I heard at a meditation class, really changed the way I let myself worry about things. Do you listen, or just wait to speak? I had a professor in college, he called it the 10-90 rule. Life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you react to it. Changed my life. Edit, thank you for the award. I hope this helped at least one person. It's honestly so simple, we can all do it every day. It really changes your perspective when you put it into use. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. Honesty without kindness is brutality. Kindness without honesty is manipulation. If you wouldn't take advice from them, why would you take criticism? Some dude on YouTube. I just never thought of it that way before, and I stopped spending so much energy trying to get people to like me. Luck favors the prepared. You might be the sweetest peach on the tree, but some people just don't like peaches. This helped me get over my lifelong desire to be liked by everyone, and allowed me to focus on becoming someone I actually liked. Anyone else read this in a southern accent? LOL. I didn't even realize it until I read your comment. No one raindrop thinks it causes the flood. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Mark Twain. Found it on a workbook for anxiety disorders. My therapist once told me that living in the future is anxiety, living in the past is depression. Only good way is to live in the present moment. Good luck. Ha. If you have both anxiety and depression, they cancel out. You can live in the present. Nope. Your head is in the future, but your ass is in the past. Long time ago I was meeting two women on the sidewalk, and just as we passed each other I heard this one sentence from one of them. You don't notice your progress in life because you are always raising the bar. That is so true. When you're progressing, your standards get higher and higher. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle. And yes, it isn't the real quote, but elementary school aged me internalized that thought and I have applied it to everything ever since then. I don't know where it came from, but a quote that is stuck with me says, don't think of any thoughts as being negative, because they are just thoughts. Who told you it was negative? It's just a thought. You're making it up. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. If you think of it as just a thought, it has no power. However, if you think of it as reality, it destroys you. If you look for the light, you will often find it. But if you look for the dark, it is all you will ever see. Uncle Iroh, Legend of Korra, has helped me through some dark times in the past. Just looking for that small bit of good in a heap of bad. My grandfather once told me, no matter where you go, there you are. Some people die at 25 and aren't buried until 75 minus Ben Franklin. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Reminds me of 6 months from now. You'd wish you'd started 6 months ago. Worrying only means you suffer twice. Edit, thanks for the awards guys. I'm all aflutter. The one I heard was worrying is a waste of imagination, which struck a chord with me. And now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. John Steinbeck, East of Eden. Such a beautifully written novel. The dedication is always something I remember. Well, here's your box. Nearly everything I have is in it, and it is not full. Pain and excitement are in it, and feeling good or bad and evil thoughts and good thoughts, the pleasure of design and some despair and the indescribable joy of creation. And on top of these are all the gratitude and love I have for you. And still the box is not full. John. The bee doesn't waste its time trying to convince a fly that honey is better than shit. Graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. That quote helped me stop going down the path of working myself to death, because my job needs me. If I could smash the upvote bottom for hours, I would do so on this statement. I'm 53 and I have been successful and moved up the ranks. I have also worked myself almost to death. I destroyed a marriage in the process too. Something changed in me when I got remarried and took on 4 kids. I had 0 in my first marriage. I was in the midst of going for school superintendent positions and thought I was ready and wanted that. The new wife and 4 kids changed that for me. Don't ask me what they did or didn't do. It just changed me. There was one point at work where I had terrible chest pains, and it was right before I got remarried. We had been dating though. I drove myself to the hospital and didn't even tell anyone in the office I was doing that. I knew the job was stressing me, but the pain was severe. I didn't want to die young the same way my parents did. Got to the emergency room. They ran all their tests and then had to be admitted for observation and a heart cath. Took today, I learned the next day to get it, but my new wife, to be spent the whole night in the hospital with me. Got in the room for the cath. You are still awake, and they ask you things. The doctor goes, damn, your heart looks as good as the day you were born. No issues whatsoever. The on-call doctor comes to the room and tells me all the results etc. and chalks it up to stress. I have been stressed before, but that stress hurt. Right then I knew that I had to change and not work so damn much. I tell all my young cocky 30-year-old principals this every time I can. They still kill themselves with work. I tell everyone, everything you are working will be there tomorrow. Some things have to sit for a bit. I'm not lazy by any means. I'm just not dying for a job. I'm also not saying work hard play hard either. Work is work. I don't want to have it define me. I want to retire soon and enjoy what little life I have left. This quote is spot on. Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. This helped a lot with my guilt and burgeoning martyr complex. Yes, this changed my life when I first heard it. It had literally never occurred to me to not sacrifice everything I was at all times for everyone. I had just been raised that way, and it's an entirely toxic way to live. It's easy to fool someone. It's hard to convince them that they've been fooled. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We are no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. Carl Sagan. Wait. Did Carl Sagan actually say the word bamboozle, or are you bamboozling me? Yeah, I have the book and ebook. He used the word bamboozle. Link. If you're trying to break a habit, don't say this is the last time I'm doing it to yourself. Instead, say this is the first time I'm not doing it. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it is a quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Miriam Radmasher. I came across this a long time ago, at a point in life that I really needed this lesson. It's okay if I feel sad and resigned. If my depression beat me for today and I wasn't able to function, I didn't fail. I'm not weak. I will try again tomorrow. Courage is not the towering oak that sees storms come and go. It is the fragile flower that blossoms in the snow. Sounds like something Uncle Ira would say. Would you like some tea? When people show you who they are, believe them. Maya Angelou. So much wisdom from Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. That mountain you've been carrying, you were only supposed to climb, really helped me overcome a lot of traumatic experiences and difficult chapters in my life. I hope it helps someone else out there. It reminds me of the Buddhist parable. 2 monks are walking down a trail. When they come to a river, a woman is standing by the banks of the river. She is afraid to cross because of the current. The older monk says, I will carry you across. And he does so. The woman and the monks go their separate ways. Hours later, the younger monk says, brother, our order forbids us from touching a woman. Yet back at the river, you carried that woman across. And the older monk says, I put that woman down at the river. You are the one who has carried her all this way. Dear Abby's response to a writer thinking of going back to school, but worried that she will be 40 by the time she got her degree. How old will you be in 4 years if you don't get your degree? You are going to be 40 anyway with or without your degree. It reminded me that letting age stop me from my plans was just silly. Also, working at a community college and seeing so many people going back to school in their 30s, 40s, 50s and thriving. The quote really spoke to me. I went back to school in my late 20s. Gonna graduate after turning 33 this year and I'm super jazzed to have gained all these new skills. Edit. Thank you everyone for the support and well wishes. Always remember that it's never too late to pick up new skills. The axe forgets, the tree remembers. Zimbabwean proverb. People don't forget how they were treated, that's why it's so important to be kind. Edited to add, I honestly did not expect this to blow up. Thanks y'all. I saw this one time under a post about parenting, and it stuck with me. As a mother of two stubborn toddlers, some days are rough and filled with impatience and frustration. I use this quote to remind myself that how I'm with them will be what helps to shape them. My husband and I set the example for them, and both of us had crappy childhoods. I don't want them traumatized like I was as a child. I want them to be molded with love, not negativity. Never be so kind you forget to be clever, and never be so clever you forget to be kind. When I was young, I admired clever people. Now that I'm old, I admire kind people. Abraham Joshua Heschel. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's sis. On it, everyone you love. Everyone you know. Everyone you ever heard of. Every human being who ever was. Lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager. Every hero and coward. Every creator and destroyer of civilization. Every king and peasant. Every young couple in love. Every mother and father. Hopeful child. Inventor and explorer. Every teacher of morals. Every corrupt politician. Every superstar. Every supreme leader. Every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Carl Sagan. Pale blue dot. Just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table. I've been dealing with a few fizzled relationships lately, and this is so on point. The last thing I wish for is for them to be ducked over. At the same time, I don't need to see your face. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy. You know that a relationship, whether romantic or otherwise, is completely dead when you just find yourself not really caring about the other person anymore, or worrying about what they're up to. Assume whoever you're listening to knows something you don't. This is words to live by. If you spend time around people you quickly learn most people can provide some insight into the world you don't have. I worked it in the factory, and what factory workers have taught me about the world and labor has massively changed my view of the world in the work people choose to do versus what they have to do. Your kid isn't giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. The only way out is through. Don't let a wishbone grow where a backbone should be. It's no use wasting time worrying what other people think about you. No one is thinking about you. And remember to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. Been living up to those ideals recently, and I feel I have just started living. I understand there's a guy inside me who wants to lay in bed, smoke weed all day, and watch cartoons and old movies. My whole life is a series of stratagems to avoid and outwit that guy. Anthony Bourdain. Be afraid, but do it anyway. Carrie Fisher. I can do anything but I can't do everything. Today is the oldest you've ever been in your life and the youngest you'll ever be again. The first draft is just you telling yourself the story. Terry Pratchett. I'm not sure why this quote struck me so hard, but it completely changed the way I approach writing. Just get your ideas down and run on sentences and asides to yourself and loads of at parts you haven't figured out yet. It took me more than 30 years to realize that a first draft isn't just a rough version of the final draft. It's the map for yourself and no one else. We're all critics. We're all so good at recognizing what's shitty about something, but then we're also bad at making something. So just make something bad and then criticize it until it's good. Dan Harmon. You cannot convince people to love you. This is an absolute rule. No one will ever give you love because you want him or her to give it. Real love moves freely in both directions. Don't waste your time on anything else. Cheryl Strayed. Fake love is mighty convincing in a world where real love is mighty rare. The people who say you can't and you won't are usually the ones scared that you will. On the wall, the background of an episode of The Killing. Never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. Hanlon's razor. Not everyone's out to get you. There are a lot of stupid people in the world. I visited Pearl Harbor this week, and the one that struck me was there were many acts of heroism that day, not all of them recorded. It reminds me that even when nobody is watching, it's still important to put forward your best. Character is what you do when no one is looking. Resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. When seeking revenge, dig to graves. Confucius. Damn. Confucius was a gangster. I'ma kill you and the person you love the most. Got it? Narcissists beware, haha. The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. C.S. Lewis. Oof. Gut punch. Grief is the loss of what we love. I always resonated with grief is love with nowhere to go, or something along those lines. Not sure where it's from. Everyone is somebody else's weirdo. There's a Buddhist quote, don't believe everything you think. Very much related to mindfulness and the idea that you are not what you think. Sometimes we have bad thoughts that we only think because we physically feel bad. That doesn't make us bad. Just observe and let the thoughts pass. Honey, I hope it's the worst thing that ever happens to you. From my dad, when I was complaining about something. He probably didn't intend for it to be deep or anything, but it puts things in perspective. I think of it all the time. Sometimes I have to tell myself, if that's the worst thing that happens to me all day, it will be a pretty good day. Don't put off the important in favor of the urgent.